Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town Board of the Town of Ossining work session for Tuesday, October 1st, 2019. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hey.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So just want to wish a quick Happy New Year to those of you who celebrate the Jewish New Year. I hope you are all going to have a sweet and Happy New Year. We are going to start tonight with a work session, but I would like to begin with some announcements. I just came across the street from the library where I had the opportunity to join Westchester County Legislator Catherine Borgia, the Westchester County Department of Planning, and the Village of Ossining for a town hall discussion on the 2020 census, and I was happy to be joined by one of our local residents and colleagues and member I think also works for the Westchester Library Systems, Mrs. Vernon. Thank you very much for joining us across the street, and my colleague Councilwoman Shaw was also there. We had an opportunity to learn more about the 2020 census and how it's going to be rolled out and what it means for our community. Just a couple of the highlights. April 1st, 2020 is officially Census Day. The census is mandated by the Constitution and has been since 1790, and it affects our constitutional representation as well as our local and state representation, as well as the distribution of public monies. To the tune of about $880 billion of federal funds in 2016 dollars. And that's about 2,500 programs from 26 federal agencies, including healthcare, education, and I'm guessing even libraries. Public and private decision making is based on the census counts, and it guides other data sets such as not-for-profits applying for grants, and also the in 2020, it will be the first census that you will be able to respond to online on your telephone, and your smartphones. And if they don't get responses, then they will send out enumerators, also known as counters, to your place of residence to make sure that you are counted, which is basically, and the last resort is for them to look at other government documents to see if they have the counts correct, but they can only be shared in one direction, which means that those other agencies cannot use the census data for their purposes, but the census can use data from the other agencies. There are only 9 questions on this census, and they are to the tune of: do you own or rent your residence, your name and address, who else lives in your household, or what your race is, or if you are of Hispanic origin. The citizen question is blocked. It is not going to be on the census. And we learned a whole bunch of other things. The first mailing is going to inviting you to respond to the census will go out March 12th. There have already been people out in our communities making sure that they have the best data they can to get the mailings out to the right places. There will be lots of places where you can fill out your census, and as long as it corresponds with your address and your unit of housing, it will be entered into the census. So we are hoping that everybody participates in getting the word out to their neighbors and friends, their community organizations, and anything else that you're involved with, to let people know how important it is that we get a correct count. In 2010, the Village of Ossining was undercounted. The town of Ossining actually was one of the top well-counted municipalities. We're very proud of that, but we want to make sure that our village is also well counted. So we're going to do all that we can to partner and make sure that that happens. So that's just a little overview from the census meeting. There will be many more meetings, and we hope that as many of you participate as possible. Is there anything I left out of import?
Nope, that was pretty good.
Oh, somebody asked what at the end. They said, well, what's the punishment if you don't answer the census? Well, if you live someplace and you want representation and you want funding for programs and you want funding for healthcare, and you want education funded, and you want your roads paved. This is how it all happens. That's the punishment. The punishment is if you don't get the right count, you don't get the right money. You don't get the right representation. So we want to make sure that we get the best count we possibly can. Okay. So in other announcements, I want to remind everybody that this year there will be early voting, October 26th through November 3rd. This is new this year in New York State. Across the state, you can vote early, and in Ossining, you will be able to vote at the Ossining Community Center in the museum area, which may spill into the music room, which is on the upper level of the community center. So if you're voting anywhere from October 26th to November 3rd, and there are specific hours. So for example, Saturdays and Sundays, 12 to 5, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 to 4 p.m., and then Tuesday and Thursday, 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., you will vote at the community center. So that's Saturday, October 26th through Sunday, November 3rd. You can vote at the community center if you live in Ossining and Briarcliff, which parts that are in Ossining. If you vote on Election Day, Tuesday, November 5th, you can vote from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. at your regular polling place. So we've talked about this, and we're going to keep talking about it until we get to Election Day, or October 26th at the very earliest. We'll keep talking about it. Also, just wanted to let you know that Westchester County will be hosting budget public input sessions, and that those start on Tuesday, October 15th at 7 p.m. And that one's going to be at Sarah Lawrence College. And then Wednesday, October 23rd at 7 p.m. will be at Peekskill Field Library. So if you're interested in participating in that, you can do so. Also, at the last minute, I got something from one of our local residents, Steve Worthy, who I guess produced a film, and he's going to be showing the world premiere of Peekskill Private Eyes on Saturday, October 26th, starring the city of Peekskill and its downtown artists community, and directed by Scarlett Antonia. And that will be at 925 South Street in Peekskill from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I think that you can get, it's $10 for admission, which includes wine and late refreshments. So Steve Worthy's been come before our board on a couple different occasions, and we always like to support good talent from our community. Also, check out the next segment of the Ferry Sloops Fall Lecture Series when our friend and town historian Scott Craven will present on the history and ecology of Havistraw Bay tomorrow, Wednesday, October 2nd at 7:30 p.m. at Shaddamunk Yacht Club. It's a free lecture, and Captain Craven is one of the best storytellers around. You may even want to take notes. Also tomorrow, Good Choice Kitchen will be one of more than a dozen restaurants participating in Woodstock Farm Sanctuary's first annual Dining Out for Farmed Animals to raise awareness for World Farmed Animals Day. 10% of their proceeds on Wednesday will go towards the cause. Please consider grabbing a delicious smoothie, crunchy salad, or hearty bowl and help fund the sanctuary's efforts to rescue and care for neglected farm animals. Are you or someone you know expecting a baby or have a small child in the home? Put the early literacy baby shower on your calendar. On Saturday, October 5th at 11 a.m., the Ossining Public Library will host this program in partnership with Neighbors Link, Ossining Children's Center, Open Door, and St. Matthew's Head Start. Head to the Boudars Theater to learn about programs at the library for children younger than 18 months, have a snack, meet other new parents, and enjoy a peaceful story time. What could be better on a Saturday morning? Also on Saturday, October 5th, is Green Ossining's town-wide tag sale. Yesterday was the last day to sign up, but get ready to shop around town and give some well-loved items a great second home while keeping them out of our waste stream. Learn more by going to www.greenossining.org/tag sale. Don't miss Artoberfest at Bethany Arts Community, also on Saturday the 5th. Here you'll find music, crafts, food, and of course, lots and lots of art. Admission is free. You can learn bread making with Journeyman Bread, ice cream making with Bigfoot Creamery, mask making with Theater O, West African dance, and an interactive drum circle with Gladys Lowe, and so much more. Make sure to stop by between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Visit bethanyarts.org for more information. On Sunday, October 6th at 11 a.m., join Ossining School Superintendent Ray Sanchez for a hike at T-Town. This is a great opportunity to get outside with the family and enjoy the beautiful fall weather, and you can bend the superintendent's ear if you'd like. Please park in the lakeside lot and bring a bagged lunch to enjoy after the hike. Finally, Halloween is right around the corner. Get your tickets now for the Forest O' Fears, The Haunting at Cedar Lane. It's scheduled happening in just a few short weeks, and there are 4 opportunities for you to have lots of spooky fun. 2 Saturdays and 2 Sundays, October 18th and 19th, and 25th and 26th. Visit forestofears.org to grab your tickets now. Also this year, all proceeds will go to the SPCA of Westchester, so you can plan on an evening of family fun while also supporting a great local nonprofit. Do any of my colleagues have other announcements?
Supervisor, those are Fridays and Saturdays for the haunting,
Oh, it's
not Saturdays and Sundays.
Fridays and Saturdays. Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely. Fridays and Saturdays. You're quite right. Okie doke. And with that, we are going to move into our first item on our work session agenda, which is we have some time ago, I think maybe in, I want to say August, we were contacted by our police chief regarding what was reported to be a noose hanging from a tree at Lewis Engle Park. Although the investigation into the incident is ongoing and still open, we have been speaking with the Ossining chapter of the NAACP to discuss what the climate is in our country, how it has impacted us here in Ossining, and how we can better work together to make sure our community is aware of and sensitive to the symbols and language of hate. We are hoping to work on as many levels as we can to nip in the bud any future expressions of hate, which can stir up some very real and very disturbing feelings. We invited Aaron Moore from the NAACP to be with us tonight, and some other folks that he has brought with him, and to talk to the NAACP about how we can work together as a community with some suggestions for moving forward. So, Mr. Moore, I would like to bring you up to the microphone and introduce your friends and colleagues, and have everybody speak with us.
So I'm Aaron Moore, President of the NAACP. I have with me Vice President Sandy McAllister, Mr. Boswell, Ms. Vernon, and Gail. Of course, Reverend Jones. I didn't even see you back there. Donald Jones as well. I want to thank you for letting us speak at the agenda and in today's work session. Anyway, it's unfortunate that we have to meet under such circumstances, but as we know, there are issues which have to be dealt with here. Hate crimes across the country have basically, they're more noticeable now, whether they have gone up or what have you. They're more noticeable now than in previous recent years. Of course, years and years ago, it was, we don't want to go back there is the point. So we as a community expect the government, or hope that the government can do something to curtail, to let the public know that this cannot continue to happen. And having said that, I'm going to ask Sandy McAllister to come up because she has some suggestions. Okay, Sandy.
Good evening, all. Again, thank you for listening to some of our comments. So on behalf of the NAACP, I would like to begin to thank Town Supervisor Dana Levenberg and Mayor Victoria Garrity for their joint letter that they issued on August 2nd, 2019 in response to the news found in Lewis Engle Park on July 31st, 2019. While there was an acknowledgement in the letter that racist violence doesn't have a place in this community. The Ossining NAACP felt that the acknowledgement was not sufficiently published widely enough. As we discussed at a meeting with you, Ms. Garrity, on September 6th, we are requesting the town to take leadership, starting the conversation and identifying actions to take place to address hate symbols, racism, and their implication in the wider community. We're also asking that a work group that would include the NAACP, community clergy, the Ossining School Board, and other community groups to be established to develop a plan of action to provide, for example, sensitivity training, historical perspective of all hate symbols, and so on. These programs should be open to the wider community and other organizations and schools. We're also requesting that the town of Ossining, which I see is on the agenda today, to support Senate Bill number 6648, and I thank you very much for that because we did discuss that. And lastly, I hope that we can maintain open lines of communication between the town and the NAACP and continue to work together for justice for all. So thank you.
Good evening. Good evening to Ms. Levenberg, our town supervisor, and to all who are here. Again, as a member of NAACP, as well as a clergy member representing the multiple faith groups in our community, we were again dismayed when we saw the news that took place that was held in Eagle Park. And so our hope is that we are supporting the initiatives recommended by the NAACP, that we will provide some real education opportunities for our community, not just for students, but also for adults as well. While we have a great diverse community, which we all extol and are grateful for, truth is that this incident reminds us that while we are a diverse community, that everybody does not always respect the diversity. And so my hope and our prayer is that the town would step up and would say we will also support our diversity by making sure that the diversity is embraced as well as acknowledged and honored by all persons. And so we look forward to working with you and looking forward to seeing some action very soon. Thank you.
So I did want to just, is there anybody else who wants to speak? No? Okay. So I did want to just acknowledge that we had a meeting in advance just to talk a little bit about what some working goals could be and some action steps that we could take collectively. And a couple of the things that we had discussed was supporting legislation introduced by Senator Todd Kaminsky in the state Senate to talk about and actually have a copy of the legislation, which isn't long, so I can read it. Just briefly, an act to amend the education law in relation to requiring instruction regarding symbols of hate. The people of the state of New York, represented in Senate and Assembly, do enact as follows. Legislative findings. The legislature hereby finds the recent spike in hate crimes across our state and nation as a whole to be highly disturbing and a societal epidemic in need of remedy. As many of our youth are not aware of the hateful connotations behind swastikas and nooses, it is necessary for the legislature to mandate compulsory education in all schools across our great state in regard to the meanings of these two symbols of hate. Requiring students be educated in the significance of these displays of bigotry will go a long way toward fostering a more inclusive and tolerant society for all. The education law is amended by adding a new section, 801B, to read as follows. 801B, instruction regarding symbols of hate. The regents shall ensure that the course of instruction for grades 6 through 12 includes a component on the meaning of the swastika as the emblem of Nazi Germany, as well as the noose as a symbol of racism and intimidation. The regents shall determine how to incorporate such components into existing curricula, and the commissioner shall promulgate any regulations needed to carry out such determination of the regents. So this has not yet been passed in the Assembly and Senate, and it's something that seems to be common sense legislation. I circulated a copy of this to the board, and I think that the entire board is in support of this legislation. I also had an opportunity recently just to have a small meeting with the mayor and the superintendent of schools, as we do on a regular basis, get together to talk about a variety of issues. And I did raise this issue with Superintendent Sanchez as well. It's obviously something that the schools work very hard to address, which is sort of a core of the school district. And having been on the school board for many years, I know how hard we work on issues of addressing cultural competency in staff as well as in students. And we started at a very young age, really to celebrate everybody's differences and how we all can come together as a school community and as a community in general. So it seems that is something that if it's not already specifically addressed, could be easily worked into the curriculum. And I think that Superintendent Sanchez would support those types of efforts and look to ensure them, even if the legislation doesn't get passed, for example. So that's something that I think that we can all work together towards. The other thing is I just happened to be attending the production of The Weight Room, which was sponsored by the Sing Sing Prison Museum. I think I had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Moore a little bit about that fact that I bumped into Jillian McCrae, who is one of the high school teachers that teaches SUNY racism, sexism, classism in the high school. It's one of the most popular classes there. And we had spoken briefly about the idea of expanding that class and offering it for adults. And it turns out she had already had a meeting with the library about just doing such a class, and she was very much in support of being able to offer something. The details are still to be worked out, but at least it seems to me like that would be a step in the right direction. And again, what we talked about is trying to come up with a way that we can have sort of an ongoing conversation and not just one-offs, because obviously these are difficult conversations to have, but they need constant education, not one time, one class for one small group of people. We all need to be educated. And one of the things that we actually offer in the town, just so you know, through our partnership with the county's employee assistance program, we offer training in cultural competency to our entire staff, and also our board members were invited as well to come in. And it was voluntary, but it strongly encouraged. And we had a lot of people participate in this. And I think that people thought that it was an excellent opportunity to really think more specifically about how we approach any situation with anybody who has any sort of that's different than us in any sort of a way, and how we can be more accepting and more understanding of differences and trying to understand our shared humanity, as opposed to just looking at people for either the color of their skin, or thinking about the choices that they make, their sexual choices, or how they identify gender, or their race, or their religion, any of those sorts of things, or if they are have any sort of physical handicap or other difference. So all of those things I think are very important. We had an opportunity to talk about those in our cultural competency training, and again, I think it's something that you can't just offer once. Staff changes, we have turnover, and people forget. And we're going to continue to work on that as a town staff as well. So I would like to just open it up to the board for your thoughts.
I'm on the Equity Task Force, which is part of the school district. Jillian McCrae is also on that task force. And we've been going, I think this is our third year. And one of the biggest things for a third year is outreach to the community, and maybe a link to the NAACP would be a good way to start getting the word out, because the Equity Task Force has been very focused on getting the word out to students, to staff, and to faculty within the school district. So our next step is pushing out to the community with the things that we've been learning in the Equity Task Force. And a lot of the stuff we've done is around hate crimes and symbols of hate. And so that might be a good link. And maybe Jillian is the person. I'm not trying to volunteer her. Sorry, Jillian. but she might be a person to work with to bring information from the NAACP to the Equity Task Force to see if we can all work together to get something out there instead of trying to reinvent the wheel and do something separate and different, to try and work on what we've done and push that out. So that might be a way to go. Thank you for coming, by the way.
I want to make a comment on that if I can.
Okay. But you're gonna have to come up and talk at the microphone. You
Yeah,
do,
so because
yes.
the camera can't hear you.
You might have to
I heard,
adjust it a little.
I heard Sandy's remarks, and thank you for speaking on behalf of the branch. In terms of the town taking leadership on this, if we each in other different little places begin to do something, you're never going to get that much participation. The children are a captive audience. And if the school district decides to look at its curriculum and do something with it to make sure these things are being addressed, it will be addressed because the kids are there. You can't say the same thing for the adults in the community and whether they'll buy in. At that same census meeting that we went to, where they had done some surveying to find out why people didn't participate in the census, it tells us that people have a variety of different reasons why they don't buy in and don't participate. And so I believe that the NAACP is asking that the town convene the religious community and other organizations within the community to come out and talk about it, so it's a strategic plan that's community-wise. The same way that communities can have an event where everybody reads a book, communities can have events where everybody is looking at this question. But if organizations buy in and agree to be a part of it, and if the religious community agrees to be a part of it, you're going to have more participation because they will also take it back to their membership and encourage them to be part of this. And I believe that's what Sandy was asking in terms of the town, because it occurred on town property in a town park, but also you are the higher part of the total community, that our elected officials should take some leadership in convening that, and the NAACP welcomes being a part of that task force.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I understand where. By the way, I'm a member of the NAACP anyway. So, but you know that incident down there, I kind of doubt that we'll ever find out who really did it, because but it helps to bring the communities together, whether we find out or not. But I I have grands and great grands, and they ask me sometime. I was talking to one of my great grands, and I was telling about how things were in the South. That I was raised up in Georgia, where I had to walk on one side of the street and the white person walk on the other. So I know all about these good things that's going on. But when I tell them about the things that used to happen and the things that they don't want to believe them, because they'll say nobody does that, and but and like I just heard somebody say that we don't want to go backward, but sometimes you have to use your past to deal with the present. And if we forget the past, we may well forget about the present. So I just understand my the especially the little ones who are so easy to manipulate. We need to try to deal with them in a positive manner, and if we can keep them going, and help them to to be good community members. That's about all we can really do. Because the people that put the noose down at the park, believe me, they are old enough to know how to how to escape and how to get around it, and they have done well so far. And we, as the board, we have been trying to find out what went on, but like I said again, we probably will never find out. But we have to try. And again, I want to say thank you guys for being here.
Okay, thank you for coming. It's nice to see everybody here. I gotta ask, are you Gail's dad? Okay. Oh, is that you? I didn't even recognize you. Okay, hi. Okay, anyway. I'm excited that you're here. I'm excited to have a partnership. I was blessed to be able to grow up here and have a lot of friends in the community from all over the community. It has served me well on this board to be able to go anywhere in the community. I was in Michael's class, I was in Gail's class. And I look forward to working, to continue the conversation and make sure everybody is tolerant of everybody else. And any suggestions you have, happy to work with you. Happy to reach out in any which way, shape, or form. Glad to be a partner.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming. It's a shame that in 2019 we have so much work to do on this issue, but we do.
Yep.
And I look forward to working with all of you. I think you guys made some great points, things that we could work on together. Thank you.
So I just want to get back to Mrs. Vernon and Ms. Allister's comments about, again, sort of an action plan and next steps. And I think that the idea of coming and forming a group that can come up with a strategic plan, even if it's working specifically with the equity task force, that already organized group that's specifically kind of came through the school district. But again, if we can find a way to work together to expand the message and find a way to work with adults in the community and people that have gotten beyond school again, and to continue to work with the schools so that we can all be going in the same direction and we can broaden the conversation. I think that that's an excellent suggestion. And I think that, we can work very quickly to come up with and identify who might be some of the leaders to be part of that task force and how we can move forward. So if the board would be in favor of that, I think that we could say that we'll put together a task force, led by the town and in cooperation with NAACP to work on, addressing hate symbols and educating people about how, we talked about sensitivity training, and I don't exactly know what we're going to call it, but we're going to let that be for the task force to kind of come up with so that we can address that as another step. And then furthermore, I think a little bit later in our, we have a special meeting this evening. We do have a resolution supporting the Senate Bill 6648 that I read previously. So that would be another step in the right direction, which we will then send to our legislators or state legislators. Is there anything else that you think that that you want us to talk about besides that, or does that sound like a worthy action plan for the time being? Okay. Fantastic. Okay. That's it. You're certainly welcome to stay for the special meeting. Next up, we have.
One question.
Yeah,
also.
absolutely.
What might be the timeline for pulling together this task force?
I'm gonna say to give us between 2 weeks and a month to do that. Okay.
We're including the houses of worship as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
suggestions be sent to your office of other organizations to invite. And we're very fortunate that part of the clergy have been involved with this from the beginning.
Yep.
To make sure that the religious community at large is also aware and will be at the table.
100% yes. I could not say no to that.
If you're sending anything by email, can you send it to tc@townofaustining.com and the whole town board would get it?
And I do think, I mean, I know that you have our email now, Mr. Moore, Ms. McAllister, I think you both have sent us emails. The NAACP has sent emails. So however you best, that's the best thing. And so tc@townofaustining.com or also dlevenberg@townofaustining.com. And then I will circulate it to the rest of the board if for any reason you don't have that TC down. And again, I thank you very much for your continued advocacy for our community, and I look forward to a successful partnership working together. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good.
And we will be passing this I don't think there are going to be any surprises. We're going to be passing this a little bit later in the evening, so have a great night.
Right.
Bye-bye. And we can take a 2-minute break. Okay. And we're back. Thanks, everybody. Next up, I want to welcome our Town Parks Foreman, Mario Pilardo, who is here tonight to give us a departmental report about our town parks. Did you know that we have 7 parks in the town of Ossining? You're probably familiar with Lewis Engel Waterfront Park, where we have the Spray Park, a number of picnic areas, and our annual Independence Day fireworks, our Food Truck Fridays, and summer concert series. You may even know about Cedar Lane Park, where we have our art center and pavilion, football field, dog park, and our Halloween haunt, community garden, and soon-to-be food scraps collection site. Maybe you've been at Gerlach Park for an adult softball game, or rented the pavilion, or used the playground there. But did you also know we have some more passive parks, including Lit Park, a little pocket park on Tappan Terrace, or Sally Swope Park on Hawks Avenue, which is the project that our team is presently working on. I'm going to turn it over to Mario to take us back to the start of the year, catch us up on Sally Swope's progress, and let us know what is next for fall and winter.
Good evening, everyone. Sorry to have a lot of pictures, but this is my first visit this year, so hopefully we can get through it. First, thank you to Victoria for putting this PowerPoint together. The pictures are projects we worked on this year, besides our everyday tasks of garbage, cutting grass, maintaining ball fields, bathrooms, etc. We've also been working with Dale Cemetery recently in the past couple months. Those guys have been reporting to the Parks Department, and it's going very well. We're able to cut the cemetery in pretty much like 5 hours. As long as 5 guys are there, full-time guys, we cut it in 5 hours, and probably like another day of weed whacking, day and a half. Whereas they used to be there all week, and they still never, as soon as they almost get done, they're starting all over. And it's been the first time in a couple of years that we're actually able to finish a park completely, like grass whipping, cutting grass, like everything. Where sometimes we'd skip certain areas that don't get used a lot, but so it's been working.
Be careful because that's making a lot of noise.
That's a no.
Well, the first picture we have is our new trucks we got this year. So thank you to the town supervisor, town board, Maddie, for our 2 new trucks. These trucks will plow. Obviously, the utility truck has the plow. This truck doesn't, but it did come with a plow and a spreader, so we will be plowing with the highway department with them. This is technically the truck I use, or it replaced truck 23. The good thing about this is it has toolbox. It's a utility truck, So we're able to store all our tools and just pretty much everything we for events or whatever we use on a daily basis. It's there. We really don't have to make frequent runs to the shop. Frequent runs, not frequent.
Yeah, are you gonna try to fix that? I know, that's what I was trying to warn him, it's gonna drive me crazy. Also, can you say,
Sorry.
a quick question, does the number 23 like get retired? Or does it get
No, it's the new 23.
This is the new
It replaced
23.
20. Yeah,
Okay,
so
I
this is
wasn't sure.
23.
I thought I'd ask the
The
question.
dump truck replaces.
Friday Night Lights.
Okay, just curious.
Well, 23 was auctioned off this year. The Dodge, the 4500 dump truck, that replaced truck 19, which was auctioned off a couple years ago. Oh, you have the clicker now. See, I was looking for it. Oh, yeah. All right, the first project we did this year, we started in February, was the caretaker's house at Ryder Park. The house has been there, I don't know, I've been here 19 years, and I've never, since I became foreman, I was in there a couple times, but other than that, the house, we really never did anything to it. This was the kitchen. This had a problem where it's cut out. We had the kitchen sink had a leak for a couple years, and it developed mold and stuff, so we had to get mold remediation. This is what the kitchen looked like. If you look, it's hard to tell, but by the chimney, the top right corner, that crack, the kitchen was actually sinking. You'll see in later pictures downstairs why. This is just before pictures, yes. Downstairs, when we started ripping out walls, you'll see to the right, most of it, that wood, it's eaten out. There was a lot of termite damage caused. That pipe was there's no insulation in the house, so the pipe over the years was freezing and unfreezing and had cracks and stuff, which everything has been replaced and new. Nice. This is more termite damage we found. We had to replace all the way to the right. You'll see main headers. We had to support everything. We pretty much built everything new, all outside walls downstairs. We reinforced the whole floor. This is us putting it now back together, new plywood. You'll see new joist. That's just a picture of all the way to EcoBat. That's the environmentally friendly insulation we use. Eco-friendly, I'm sorry, which has no formaldehyde, no acrylics, no artificial color. And if anybody's ever worked with insulation, it's actually really easy to work with. It's the first time I've ever worked with it. It's less itchy, dusty. It's good. And it's good for the environment.
I used to work with it.
It's good.
Oh, did it?
Yep. This was the first time I used it, and it was great. This is, we also replaced the 2 windows in the kitchen. That's our coworker, Mark. He approved of the window. We actually made that one smaller because we kind of reconfigured everything. So we put the sink there. So we made the window smaller. That way the sink will fit underneath it. That's just the finish of the new windows. This was the installation we did. Obviously, you see all the new wood, the new plywood, the new electric lines. We also installed a new water filter system all the way to the right. And this is us putting it back together with the new sheetrock, hanging the new cabinets. All the way to the right, we did, oh my God, the floor. We did a floating floor. I couldn't think of it. This is getting finished with spackling. The floor was done, all the cabinets were in, and then painting with everything's LED that we did in the kitchen. We still have more work to do in the other rooms to update everything. And this is the finished product with new appliances, new floor, new cabinets, and yeah, everything's new. This was a small project we did for the over the winter. We had the sewer grates. The floor was done last year in the spray park before the season ended. So with the same material, we were able to glue them onto the catch basin grates and install them before the park opened. This was a boat trailer we had at Cedar Lane Park. The town owns 2 boats with the sailing school, I guess, sailing club. So this was a picture of it sitting in the woods, and we brought it back to the shop. We fabricated it so we could easily move the sailboat to Cedar Lane where we store them for the winter. This was Ryder Park Pavilion. It was just a picture of the old lights. It was the last pavilion to get updated. I did not take a picture of the new LED lights, but now all our pavilions have LED lights. This was our beach after the winter. I mean, you could go down there pretty much. You could clean the beach today and go down there tomorrow, and there's something else to pick up. It's like an ongoing thing. This winter was really bad. The center picture was some kind of barrier, I guess, that washed up. The good thing is we were able to do it in a timely manner. You can't see the container, but we don't have to rent containers anymore because we have our own with our hook lift truck. So it's good. This was just a new compressor we had to install in our shop because the old one went.
What do you use that for?
Pretty much all our power tools to change the blades on the machine, the sand, the air grinders for when we weld. So this was Ryder Park Pavilion. We added millings to the parking lot. And then towards the back, we started cleaning it, and you'll see in another picture that, we made storage bins for all our material. That picture to the right is the clay, and then we have a bin that holds wood chips, gravel, sand, and it's shared with the highway department. So it's kind of like it's not a mess anymore. It's more of an organized, I wouldn't say mess anymore, but it's just an organized place. Because it's hard. We don't have really a good location where we could keep everything. So just.
All those materials you mentioned, though, are parks materials. Clay.
Well, clay, wood chip, sand, gravel, and item 4 is what we share with the highway. So whenever they do a job and they have leftovers, they come, they dump it, and so forth. This was our Earth Day sign we made. While cleaning the beach, we saved driftwood from the beach. We took vines from Cedar Lane, and the fence you see that we're leaning on and then off to the side, we made as a barrier, which we ended up using we pretty much used it all year long. We used it for the 4th of July event. We used it as the beer pit for the concerts. And now we'll be using it. We just used it actually for the performance we had, the weight room. And we'll be using it for the Halloween hayride at Cedar Lane. This is just field prepping in the spring, cutting the edges out, adding clay, rolling everything. This was just lawn repair down at the waterfront, where you see the hay on the sides of the sidewalk around the trees. This was the waterfront bathroom with our lovely yellow that some people in this room. Well, the green is new.
Thank you.
Well, we need to
Why,
make a
thank
decision.
you.
Well, we did the waterfront beginning of the season because that where the new stall was ripped out. The bathroom was vandalized. But we will be doing the bathrooms. Hopefully, we're waiting on a few more products that we've ordered, and pretty much all our bathrooms will be getting new fixtures, new stalls. So if we come to an agreement on a color or something else that you guys want done with the walls,
I feel like we do a
We have
mural
time.
there, it'll tie it together.
and also all our bathrooms now we were able to do the LED lighting.
Which really brings
So
out the
they'll have-
color.
Yeah, it does. It's bright. Well, there's no windows, so we did it because it's just a bright color. They used to be blue.
It's a good color.
I mean, it's
You like the yellow?
It's a bright color. It'll keep
Yellow? Is that what you guys just said? Team yellow? That's what I said, team yellow.
And if you don't like it, you'll hurry up and come.
yeah. You just
Well, you're not making a career. Start singing that song. Does anybody know that song, Green and Yellow?
These were the only bathrooms we were able to finish before the year actually started, or the busy season. This is Ryder Park's lower bathroom. You see the hole in the ceiling that had a leak. The roof was done a couple years ago. We have new LED lighting. The stalls we took out, we replaced with new stalls. We had to fix all the plumbing issues. And that's with the new ceiling, new LED lights, the new fixtures. We patched up the wall again. Those are new doors this was the last park that needed new doors on all the bathrooms and storage rooms. We just got the signs for them, so we will be painting them and putting new signs up. Oh, this was the buffer in the back. This was This was a project that I really wasn't too crazy about. We pretty much got a bunch of sticks in a bag
In the mail.
in the mail.
Courtesy of the DEC
The D-
Trees for Trips program
Yes.
to replant
Native.
To replant native along ponds and streams and brooks and stuff to help with erosion. I don't have a good picture. I wish I took a picture of it, but there were actually like sticks with roots, and I gave a hard time. I was like, these things are not going to grow. This is just a waste of
Give a
time.
hard time
To town supervisor in Victoria. But we did it, and that's us just prepping the area with the tractor and the excavator. You could tell the excitement on Mark, how happy he was when he planted them. So we did some. That's the first two pictures. That's behind one of the ball fields, and the other picture is by the pond, and they're actually growing. They're doing very well, and I was surprised. I really was. This is just one of the display cases. There's nothing in it yet. We put so that when people rent the grilling areas we installed a couple years ago, they know if it's booked, when it's booked, and who's booking it. So the people know not to use it, or if they have the permit, they see the name and they tell them they have to leave because it's theirs for the day.
So
And we
if
actually
they're
have-
reserved or something?
Yeah, and we actually have a bigger display case. We haven't had time to install it. That's gonna go like right where the entrance is before you get to where the porta potties usually are. Yeah, the rules and whatever else we want to put in there. Yeah. This was the entrance of Cedar Lane. We had about, I forget, 17 to 20 dead pine trees that we had to get cut and clean up. And once again, that's our hook lift truck. We're able, it was easy, just load on our containers and get it dumped. This was a repair we had to do at the spray park. We had, the good thing is with the tiles, you're able to just cut the square out. So if you see the left hand picture, we had to cut out 2 tiles. That's after we break the concrete. We found the break is right there. You can see I'm holding it. We fixed it, and then we put the tile back on. There should have been another picture. We patched it back up, put the tile back on. Easy. This was also a valve repair at the spray park inside the guard towers where we have all the controls and stuff. It's just a diaphragm that needed to be replaced. This was in front of our shop. You can see the holes in the first picture. We had a pipe collapse. It was rotting away. We replaced it with a plastic pipe, and obviously in the picture all the way to the right, it works. This was Ryder Park, the lower parking lot. We milled half of, I guess, the road coming in into the parking lot. Hopefully before the year's over, we'll be able to do the entire parking lot. This is the Finchfield dugouts at Ryder Park. The plan was to do concrete and drain. We didn't have the time this year, so we put stone dust just to help with the issues we're having, and it seems to be working, so.
Dog. Yeah. Is that?
No, it's a pail, I think. A pail or
Kinda does look like
something. It does look like a dog, though. This was Gaga Pit at Ryder Park, a project we did with the Girl Scouts. I apologize, I forget which troop it was. But we helped with just the leveling off of the area, and they installed everything. This was a broken swing set at Lewis Engel Park. We had to take it down. It just rotted away. So we're looking to get new swings and maybe a fitness area on the one side. This was repaired to sprinklers. The pipe just must have broke over the winter. The repair we did. This was garbage cans we installed now at the waterfront. We have recycling bins now with tops, and our other garbage cans actually have lids. It was an ongoing problem down there with the seagulls actually getting food out of the crows. No, seagulls, crows. Yes, you'd throw food in there. They would take it out, and just it'd be all over the place. So it helped out, and now we have recycling. So hopefully people recycle. This was a beach cleanup in late summer. We really didn't have time this year to keep up with it as often as we did last year. But the same thing as we did in winter. We just came in with the machine, picked up all the wood, and raked everything. That's when it's clean, what it looks like. This was our cross-country trails at Ryder Park. We went through, you see the first two pictures, and then of it, everything overgrown, and then the picture with it cleared out. And they are used by regular people and, by regular dog walkers, people running, and our cross-country. This was a water spigot we found at Sparta Cemetery that they had asked to put on, so when they had their gravestone cleanings, it's easier for them to access water, because I believe they were accessing water from one of the neighboring houses. So this makes it a lot easier for them.
Was there already a water line
The
there?
spigot was already there. Excuse me, we found it. It was over by the road. It was just everything was overgrown around it. We just have to remember to winterize it now. But the water department knows, because they had to come put a meter, so we will remember.
Really?
Yes. Mike Demar is very good with all his meters. This was, you really can't tell in the picture, but the picture to the left, it was broken, the playground. It was missing like the little flag on top. So once we put it together, everything works. That's good. This was 2 tulip trees at Ryder Park Pavilion. The first 2 left pictures that they just died this year. One was dead last year, and the other one, beginning of the year, had leaves. But I think in like June, it was right before, in June before camp, the other one just died, and when we cut them down, they were just rotted. They were hollow inside. The picture to the right is just dead tulip trees again that we had along the playground, along the road there. This was getting ready for fall ball. We did at Gerlach Park. Now it's co-ed. It's the orange line. You can see just the one of them. It's for football, and then the soccer field. There's one orange line. There's more orange lines, but it's the only one you can see. This was foundations we had to do at Dale Cemetery. This was one of the 12 we had to do. We did them in a couple hours. The next day we poured them. So it was done very efficiently and fast. This was the basketball court at Ryder Park. The last time we did it, I think, was I know it's when we did the pavilion. I don't know, it was like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So we did crack repairs and we sealed it.
2 years ago.
Two.
Like 1.5
3 years ago?
years ago. Yeah.
I said
Two.
4.
4 or 5. I wasn't even here then.
No.
2.
We had long
3
discussions about
years?
it
3
beforehand.
years ago?
2.5 probably. 2.5 to 3.
Yeah.
Yes.
2? All right. I'm going to check that.
When did you come on board? 2 years. 2. So it was a little after that. More than that. It was before. It was
Before that.
Anyway.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's not a good picture. We did seal it. It's still wet. We were going to do the lines today, but it rained this morning, and then we just got into doing wood chips and cutting dead trees at the dog park. So it's supposed to rain the rest of this week, so we might do it next week. And also the tennis court, which I don't have pictures, that's starting to crack. It has like 2 really bad cracks. So hopefully before the year's over, we could just repair the cracks, but hopefully in the near future, we could have nice new tennis courts and a new basketball court. This was more millings at Ryder Park. You can see the first picture, the bins that you saw in the earlier pictures. Now we're able to move, because in front of those bins is where we park all our equipment. So now we're actually we still have to finish it. We're able to park behind the bins to free up the parking lot for when there's rentals and stuff. And it looks a lot neater when everything's parked nicely. This is Cedar Lane, the pavilion area. You can't see the pavilion, there's a tent. In the spring, there was a rental. They used the tent. You can see all the tire marks and the wet pavement, all the mud. When we did the work there, we knew there was going to be an issue with the hill on the side, because we saw that water was running down it. So at that time, we just dug a hole, filled it with rock, and it really wasn't working. It wasn't doing anything. So that's when you get a lot of rain, that's what happens. So we were able to find the lines we ran from the pavilion 2 years ago. That was 2 years ago. Go ahead. So we connected into the line coming from the pavilion, which runs down, eventually goes to the pond. We installed a basin right at the bottom of the hill, and then we made a swale with rock. That's the swale with the basin in front of it, and then we just planted grass and hay. Hay. This was the middle field at Ryder, same thing in the spring. This field wasn't played that much this year, so grass grew over it. So the white line, we edged it all out and took it all up and spread clay. This is Sally Swope. This is one of the first days there. The first picture is our skid steer with the clamshell, picking up rotting railroad ties that were throughout the whole park. They used it as edging when they built the park. We took out 2 containers of it. The other picture is poison ivy that's on one of the trees that we were able to remove. Yeah, this is what the park looks like. It used to have trails, so it still has the trails. So we're gonna go in, clean it out, maybe line the trails with stone. There's a lot of invasives in there. We also had T-Town come out, so thank you to T-Town to help us identify some of the invasives. So far, we took out, I think, 3 containers of invasives. That was a birch tree that was pretty much overgrown. We freed it up. I mean, some of the branches were dying because it was just getting choked out. And the picture to the right is just pretty much all invasives. We marked them with yellow. The one to the right, that's just to give you an example. I wrote it down. That's a really bad invasive. It's a tier 2. It's a Oriental Fontinia, and it's spread out a lot through the park. So it's just one of the many invasives. There's a lot of them. I mean, the women from T-Town were great. They were able to just identify a lot of them, like by looking at them. But I still can't do that. Yeah. But hopefully within the near future, they were talking about getting us a training or not just us, parks, highways, and then whoever else neighboring towns want to do it, is hopefully to have a training on how to deal with them and how to, I guess, identify them.
Hey, you get out.
That's it. And we're working on that now, so it'll probably be a couple weeks there.
Did you find the training to be helpful? Like,
Oh yeah, I was taking notes. I was taking pictures. I mean, but they didn't
so if
have a
they
lot of time.
developed a whole, curriculum.
Oh yeah, and
We
it just
talked to them.
won't.
We already talked to
DOC,
them about
whatever,
it.
yeah.
And it just won't be for that park. We were at Cedar Lane too, discussing the food scraps, and we were looking at that whole hill, and there's a lot of invasives there.
Right.
The waterfront, how to deal
We
with
have
the
that West Indian, what is it?
yeah, and
That's
that and
starting to
the
invade.
can't think
The
of the name, in the
Fred
rocks.
Mighties.
The Fred no,
It's
the
near
other
the
one
cattails.
in the rocks. At the waterfront.
Oh, the Japanese knotweed,
Knotweed, yes,
my favorite.
which we have also at Cedar Lane.
Really?
Yeah, by the
Oh my
art
God,
center. yeah.
yes. So
That to go.
that was great. Thank you. And yes, so we did meet with T-Town again because they're going to be partnering with us on the food scraps recycling program to identify where exactly we could put the bins and how that would work. And at the time, we talked about trying to bring in the highway department, bring everybody in to learn a little bit more about invasives. And we said, well, why not open it up to all of the T-Town neighboring communities and invite everybody and come over to Cedar Lane Park, the art center. We have a nice space there that we can use our flex space in our theater.
And then we have the hill right outside that we could use for.
Exactly.
And that.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that's what it was at Sally Swope. But this.
They said, can we do a
it was overwhel-
PowerPoint and then what can we use? Oh, hey, look at that.
It was overwhelming. It was a lot. So,
So thank you. That
thank you.
seems
Thank
like
you for all the great
wait,
work.
don't go away. Don't go away. Where are you going? Just don't shake that thing. I just want to open up to any
Except-
questions. I want to thank you and the Parks Department and
the newly anointed cemetery guys who have been doing parks work. Yeah, Parks Department. You guys have been working with challenging staff issues, I think, along the way, and you still got an incredible amount accomplished. We know that it never ends.
Right.
So we appreciate that you respond to a variety of concerns, I'll say, from our community members, our town board members, who we sometimes are the eyes of the community. Sometimes our eyes are bigger than our other people's eyes. But we appreciate all of the feedback that we get and your responsiveness to that. So I just want to open it up to town board members for questions or comments.
Looks like you've been busy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nonstop. We've over the recent years, we just don't cut grass and mark fields. We
Yeah.
try to, whatever we could do, we try to do. It's
And I went up to the dog park earlier to see how they were doing, and they really put down a nice big fresh layer of wood chips and took out the broken fountain, and it really resolved a lot of the problems that the residents have been coming to us with. And I got to have a nice talk with people about starting a new board. So that was
Fantastic.
there's a lot of
That's one
invasives up
person.
there too, around the fence. I noticed.
There's a lot of what?
invasives
Says
up
around the
there.
fence. I don't know their
Everywhere.
names, but I know they're invasive.
Ranger Rick now. It's like, well, you know.
No. Well, the more that they're gone, then there's less to seed to reseed. So anyway,
Exactly, right, and that's the other part, is that the reason that Teton wanted to, we were waiting for them to get back to us with a date. They said it's gotta be soon, because now is the time to try to get as much as you can, since otherwise they're gonna
it's
all
all
be
seeding,
reseeding.
yeah.
And they, I think the best thing they said is to try to just pull as much as you can and keep the seeds from reseeding.
falling, yeah.
From falling, exactly. And not replant it someplace else, like actually throw them out in the garbage, right?
yeah.
You don't get to.
We had
just-
that problem at the boat club where we were composting, and we used all the wonderful seeds, and they got in all the planters. So don't do that.
Yeah, no, don't do that. That's not a good idea. So anybody else? Questions, comments? Favorite parks?
No question.
Favorite park project?
Just thank you. That's about all you can say.
Thank you.
No, no Team Yellow. I'm gonna sing that
Oh,
song.
yeah.
You're gonna be sorry.
Decide on a color. Pick a color. You have a couple
I'm
weeks.
actually a fan of green, but it's true. But I don't hate the yellow.
One of the ideas that I can't remember, I think it was Maddie had, was because people like to unfortunately decorate some of the insides of our bathrooms, maybe actually invite.
Well, I thought a mural
Decoration.
on that thing was nice. Would look nice. Had
I
the colors
can't. I
together.
can't take credit. Victoria Caffarelli had the suggestion to have the
Yes.
chalkboard paint,
Chalkboard, yeah. The chalkboard.
but then
paints
mine
are
was
cool.
do a mural out of the chalkboard paint of like
Oh, come on, look at
trees,
that.
and then people
Yeah,
could write on
but
the trees.
then you're always
Not a
gonna
bad
get someone that does something inappropriate, and
Yes.
it's
At least it's just chalk then.
yeah. I mean, for the past 2 years, I think, I don't know how, but they've been breaking into the bathroom, and it's always graffiti in the men's room. For some reason, it's always the men's room at the waterfront. But I don't know.
Well, thank you very much. It's a lot of work, and we really appreciate it. And
But hopefully, there's a couple more projects that hopefully we have another couple months to do before winter hits. So.
So you're gonna come back in December for another departmental report?
yes, of course. And also, we know that Cedar Lane's getting a little extra attention because we're about to have the haunting at Cedar Lane Park. So I know I mentioned it in the announcements at the beginning, but our Parks Department is always part and parcel to the
Sorry.
fun and creepiness of that event. So I want to just remind all our board members to pencil in the 18th, 19th, 25th, and 26th of October. It's going to be a lot of fun.
They've done a lot of work. I went into the garage today. It looks good. It's scary.
I scared you the other day.
Yes, you did.
I heard about that. Good job.
I was walking the dog, and I walked in quietly, and they were different.
Here
and they're
comes
like,
Liz
"Wait, I think I
laughing.
hear
I'm like, yeah,
steps."
that was really funny.
I was like holding my, and it's a maze in there, so I'm just letting the dog walk.
Don't give it away.
Well, no, the dog will not be there.
No.
The dog will not give it away.
And there is
Dog will not be
the big hayride part of it that went the big loop. That's
No more.
we got rid of that. Yeah, so it's pretty much just walkthroughs this year.
People were so scared last year.
It was
The
It's-
gro- yeah.
It was really
It was scary.
amazing. I really do recommend it for anybody who hasn't made it there, and all of you have participated in one way or the other. This should be the year. If you haven't gone this year, don't
And there,
worry.
there's a kid-friendly area at the bottom. They have a lot of new games. They have a lot of, you know, a little mini hayride. But
Grams
the,
and a
the
great
scary stuff's at the top, and like little kids should not go in that.
But it's a lot of fun for adults, so, and older kids.
And older kids, yeah, they had a blast. The adults were more scared than the kids, by the way.
Yeah.
Fern does an amazing job. And
All right.
Jamie.
We have a tiny bit more of our meeting. Thank you very much.
This is a lot of light.
And it was really lots of good stuff ahead. Still. So can I have wait, am I missing something?
Take one and pass.
Taking one and passing.
What I thought it was.
What am I up to? I kind of lost track of where I'm at. Parks Departmental report. Okay. All right. So, we're talking
And thank you, Jackie.
a little bit tonight. Some of you may recall that almost a year ago, Ossining lost Mario Conti, a family man, an auxiliary police officer, and a beloved member of the town court staff. Several members of our court staff, along with members of the Ossining Police, decided to take up a donation to create a memorial for Mario that will be hung in the courtroom lobby, and asked the town to make a small contribution. We agreed, since the majority of the plaque will be paid for by individual donations, and we also believe that the village is planning to make a contribution. But we wanted to bring up the topic and get the board's sense of what sort of precedent we wish to set, and in the unfortunate case that an active town employee passes away, how the board should decide on how and where that person should be recognized. Councilwoman Shaw was on the Recreation Advisory Board
Was?
even before, and now is our even before she was on the town board, and is now our liaison to the Advisory Board. And this is actually something that the RAB took up a couple of years ago, and I was hoping that you might be able to kick off the discussion a little bit, because you were kind enough to share the, I guess, final product of your discussions with the Recreation Advisory Board. So do you want to take us through a little bit how you got to this point?
Okay, for the Recreation Advisory Board, we really didn't get a lot of requests for memorials, and so we didn't really have a policy. And then suddenly, in the last few years, we started getting multiple requests for different things, and so we felt the need to kind of standardize what our process was so that we can be evaluating it fairly. So a lot of the stuff that we came up with is you have to live in the area for a certain amount of time, you have to have a demonstrated contribution, and the group that makes the nomination for the memorial has to come up with a significant portion of the money to do whatever it is they're trying to do. And we standardize it, I think, bench or some kind of planting or something like that. So we weren't getting tons of different types of requests. We were trying to sort of keep it to 2 or 3 different possibilities of requests based on how much money the group wanted to spend and things like that. So we came up with this list of how we evaluated it. So someone has to nominate, there has to be a recommendation, the Recreation Advisory Board gets the last say, and we have to work in conjunction with Parks and Recreation to do placement, and Parks and Recreation has the final say on placement, because they are the best to know what will go where. And as far as plantings, again, Parks and Recreation has the final say. As far as installation, that's Parks and Recreation, and we don't want a group deciding that they're gonna place something somewhere in the park. So again, Recreation Advisory Board approves, Park and Recreation does the installation. So that's some of the stuff we came up with. So I thought that was the basis of how we should be doing it, kind of standardizing the process across the town. So that's where we
I
are.
thought that those were some really good suggestions, and I think one of the things that you had mentioned was that, I mean, the second recommendation was that the recommendation would be based upon review of contributions the honoree has made to Ossining Rec and Parks programs. So like in this case, for example, Mario Conti, his contribution that he's made to the court. So,
Right.
you know, again, the relevance of where we want the memorial signage of whatever or type it would be, seems to, it needs to be related to what the person contributed or did, right? I mean,
Right.
again, it needs to have relevance. So, I mean, I think this is a great guiding document for us, and I just would love to get the board's feedback a little bit about this and to see if maybe we can try our hand at crafting something similar from this that could include, sort of a broader strokes, and then maybe we would adopt it as a policy, I think, is, what do you think, Ms. Adana? In terms of policy, I mean, what would this be? What would we?
It wouldn't
how-
be,
We would adopt it. It's
Well,
not gonna be a
I'm not
local
sure what you're
law.
trying to,
We're trying to just give ourselves, to enact some guidelines, like a policy that would guide us for when we're approached to put together memorial, of some sort for somebody who, this
in what way
specifically was
would
for
you want it
an
to,
employee.
well, what's wrong with this? Or
Well,
what?
this is just for the parks, so we would just adapt it, I think, to
So you would want it to be for
town.
any town employee within, regardless of department?
I
An
think it's-
active town employee, and I think perhaps instead of a policy, we could just do like a resolution. So like not like a policy,
That's why
like to
I'm
go in our
asking.
employee handbook, but like a resolution that will be in the minutes and so on and so forth that could be referred back to. So when, I mean, for this particular one, it's about
Guiding.
Or
Mr.
a
Conti,
guideline.
right? So we have the resolution about, accepting this plaque, Mr. Conti, and blah, 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 and then people could refer back to it. In case, God forbid, we're ever in this situation again, at least, the board has sort of delineated, what they would prefer to be included or excluded, instead of doing like a policy for all employees to be issued and have signed.
Because it seems like a very fact-specific inquiry, and, I mean, just in terms of the various departments, I think,
maybe we can come up with a template of, have you looked at this, what, kind of
like, what if
questionnaire
someone
kind of
worked
a
at
thing?
Dale Cemetery? Or, or in the supervisor's office, like,
I
what
think
what
we're
is,
I
how,
think we're
how would
talking
that
about
be?
folks who passed away while they were active employees of the town,
Sure,
right?
but, how does that department
Hope that never
concept
happens.
work? Because the supervisor was saying if they're gonna have something in a park, then they had to have made contributions to the park. Mr. Conti made contributions to the courts. So I think we would have to think about how that would apply to all of the town departments if we want this to be a town-wide concept.
Right, that's what I'm saying. We would adapt this so that we broader and more relevant to,
Well, I think that's a conversation the board has to have.
that's what we're having. Is that what we're
Okay,
talking
well,
about?
you had asked for my input, and
No, as to what it should be. Like, is it a template? Is it a resolution? Is it a policy? That's all I was asking. Not how it should, what it should sound like, but just.
Is it an
what-
application?
What are we developing? I don't really know.
Maybe application guidelines.
Who did this?
This
The
was the
Parks,
Recreation
Recreation Board.
Advisory Board.
so something
Or
would
when
have
you
to,
get,
sorry.
go
Thought
ahead.
you did a pretty good job, whoever did it. It's-
I think we're getting really far away from what this was intended to be. I think basically what we're saying is that the question had been a bunch of folks from the police department and the town court said, we want to make a substantial contribution. We'd like the town to also contribute. The town board liked the idea, but we're unsure about what sort of precedent it was going to set into the future. So I think rather than from my perspective, rather than being a policy, this is going to be a resolution naming, whereas Mario Conti served the town and village for this amount of time and so on and so forth and made contributions, so that in the future, again, if this were to happen, that resolution could be looked upon as guidance for what to do next time.
I see.
That's sort of how I envision this conversation going, rather than a policy, and this is a good document of things to put in that resolution to sort of explain why, in this instance, it's appropriate for the town to make a contribution towards that, and so on.
In that
Okay.
particular area, because he was also an auxiliary police officer.
Right.
Well, so in the instance with the parks, it would seem if someone is requesting a memorial in the park, it would be referred to Rec Advisory Board. So is it going to be referred to various departments and boards? So who would it be referred to in the context of the courts? And who would be making the decision about where the memorial is, like,
Right,
I think
so
it's always going to be the town board.
Well, okay,
Well,
so in the
here
case of
it's
the
going to the
court,
Rec
the
Advisory
court was
Board.
making the court staff made a recommendation, but it was to go in it was to go in the courthouse, so then they asked, does this sound okay, right? So, I mean, again, that would be memorialized in the resolution where it's to be hung.
Why don't, so the court is looking to actually dedicate this plaque on October 22nd. Why don't you let me take a shot at a resolution and send it around? And if everybody's okay with it, we can adopt it at the October 10th meeting. If everybody is not okay with it, we still have another week to rework it. But is everyone comfortable with it being a resolution and not like an adopted town policy?
So you're just saying the resolution for this particular one is then going to incorporate the guidelines that we could then utilize for
So then for future
ones.
reference.
I think that's a good idea.
And just to be clear, the Recreation Advisory Board just you get their approval, but then we still have to the person would still have to go to the town board or the village
Right.
board to actually approve it, because the Recreation Advisory Board is an advisory board. We don't really approve
Right.
anything. It's just
saying-
that you get our approval, so to speak, and so then you can move on to the next level, which if it's a town park or a village park, you'd go then to the town board or the village board. So it still comes back to the town or the village.
So the legislative board ultimately has the final approval in every situation. Okay.
So then it would bypass the initial step if it was a situation where it's an employee of the courts or something along those lines.
They wouldn't go to the rec advisor. It wouldn't go to the recreation department.
Exactly.
But probably the department that had the loss would
Right, it could
have
be a
some say.
Or related. It could be a department, or theoretically, it could be a related agency, theoretically. Just say for now, department.
Fine with you taking a
Just
shot at
not
the
losing.
resolution.
I'm with that, thank you.
Okay. And I do think that these are good guidelines, to kind of jump off of.
I think we can borrow them at any time.
Thanks, Jackie.
All
welcome.
right. So now I think I need
And happy birthday.
Having fun yet?
ask for a motion to go into our special meeting, correct?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay.
Do we have any public comment on any agenda items?
Do we need to take a roll call or not?
Yes. Councilwoman Feldman,
Present.
Councilman Meyer,
Present.
Councilwoman Shaw,
Present.
Councilman Wiltshire,
Present.
and Supervisor Levenberg.
Your man.
Okay. Resolution A, Personnel, Town Court Appointment. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby appoints Fernanda Lilly Ossining to the probationary position of part-time intermediate clerk in the Town Court at an hourly rate of $13 effective October 1st, 2019.
Second.
So we're so pleased to have Fernanda join our team at the town court. Today was her first day at the window, and we hear she is off to a great start. If you see her, hopefully you don't have any reason to be there, but if you should, please be sure to welcome her. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Resolution B, Personnel Town Assessor Appointment. Resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby reappoints Fernando Gonzalez, Stony Point, New York, to the position of Town Assessor for a 6-year term beginning on October 1st, 2019.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, so as per New York state law, the sole assessor needs to be approved for a 6-year term beginning October 1st. Lucky us. We happen to have a meeting tonight. And we happen to have an outstanding assessor in Fernando Gonzalez. So we think we'll keep him around. Hopefully I hear no objections. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Did not have to come to the meeting tonight, which was all well and good. So he was here for a nice long time
He's been
last
here
meeting.
for a while.
Quite a few times, yeah.
Resolution C, resolution in support of New York State Senate Bill S6648 and New York State Assembly Bill A08545 to mandate education on symbols of hate in New York State public schools. Whereas there has been an upsetting increase in hate crimes recently across our state and our nation, necessitating strong, immediate actions by our leaders to remedy this horrific reality. And whereas symbols of hate and hate speech have also permeated our community in Ossining and Westchester County, calling attention to the need for education and action, both in our schools and communities as a whole. And whereas New York State Senate Bill number S6648 and New York State Assembly Bill number A08545 propose mandating instruction in schools regarding symbols of hate as a part of the curriculum for 6th through 12th grade. And whereas this proposed legislation is a step towards ensuring all students fully understand the meaning behind symbols of hate, like the swastika and noose, but that there are many but there are many opportunities to expand education beyond schools and into communities as a whole. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby supports New York State Senate Bill number S6648 and New York State Assembly Bill number A08545 and urge the New York State Legislature to ensure passage of this important legislation.
Do you have a motion? Oh, sorry.
And be it further resolved that the town board also encourages New York State legislators to consider adding community-wide education to this proposed legislation. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be distributed to the sponsors and co-sponsors of S6648 A08545, Senators Kaminsky, Kaplan, Mayer, and Thomas, and Assembly members Levine and Glick, as well as the Town of Ossining State Representatives, Senator David Carlucci and Assemblywoman Sandy Galiff.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So in light of our earlier work session conversation with the NAACP and Friends, we are excited to pass this resolution in support of what I believe, and I think we all believe, is a great idea to better educate the children in our community and help to raise the next generation of socially aware adults here in Ossining and beyond. And maybe they'll even add in that amendment to encourage community-wide education as well. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I just have to abstain because of my day job,
Got it.
but I fully support it.
Okay. Fair.
Resolution D, Tax Payment Plan, 2 Havel Street. Whereas the town of Ossining is required to collect town, county, and school taxes for the municipality with the onus on the town to make whole the county and school district for any uncollected taxes. And whereas the receiver of taxes has been approached by a property owner requesting a short-term payment plan for the property at 2 Havel Street, tax parcel designation ID number 89.15-2-68. And whereas the town board, pursuant to Article 5 of the Ossining Town Code as authorized by Section 1184 of the New York Real Property Tax Law, before entry of a final judgment, may withdraw a parcel for which payment of real property taxes is delinquent from a foreclosure proceeding and enter into an installment plan for payment of all delinquent taxes, as well as interest and penalties, and does occasionally grant such a plan and has the discretion to accept or reject any proposal by a residential property owner, providing the owner meets the eligibility requirements set forth in Section 180-17 of the Town Code, and the payment plan conforms to the requirements for such repayment plan set forth in Section 180-18 of the Town Code. Now therefore be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby grants the aforementioned payment plan, which terms comply with the Town Code, to this property owner, who has been determined to be eligible, with the understanding that this sets no precedent going forward for this or any other property in the future.
So can I have a motion for this as well as E, F, and G? And can we just highlight what each of the parcels is, since there's one taxpayer?
I would do it as 4 separate resolutions and just cut out the first and third whereas clauses
Cut out the first and third.
of the subsequent resolution.
Okay.
So vote on D,
Okay.
and then when Maddie reads E, F, and G, just only read the second whereas clause that identifies the property, and then the resolved clause.
So in that case, can I have a motion for D?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed?
Resolution E, Tax Payment Plan, 6 Havel Street. Whereas the receiver of taxes has been approached by a property owner requesting a short-term payment plan for the property at 6 Havel Street, tax parcel designation ID number 89.15-2-69. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby grants the aforementioned payment plan, which terms comply with the Town Code, to this property owner, who has been determined to be eligible, with the understanding that this sets no precedent going forward for this or any other property in the future.
Do you have a motion?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed?
Resolution F, Tax Payment Plan 94 North Highland Avenue. Whereas the receiver of taxes has been approached by a property owner requesting a short-term payment plan for the property at 94 North Highland Avenue, tax parcel designation ID number 89.15-2-66. Therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Ossining hereby grants the aforementioned payment plan, which terms comply with the Town Code, to this property owner, who has been determined to be eligible, with the understanding that this sets no precedent going forward for this or any other property in the future.
Do you have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed?
Resolution G, Tax Payment Plan, 96 North Highland Avenue. Whereas the receiver of taxes has been approached by a property owner requesting a short-term payment plan for the property at 96 North Highland Avenue, tax parcel designation ID number 89.15-2-67. Therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Ossining hereby grants the aforementioned payment plan, which terms comply with the town code to this property owner, who has been determined to be eligible, with the understanding that this sets no precedent going forward for this or any other property in the future.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, it's
All four of them?
this,
It was the same property owner.
I'm going this for.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay.
Aye.
Aye what?
No,
Is that an aye or a nay?
In favor or?
no, I didn't realize they were all for the one.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
Okay, so that's a 4-1, just to be clear.
Correct.
Okay. Resolution H, contract generator replacement specifications, Linstar Engineering PC. Resolved that the town board of the town of Ossining hereby authorizes the supervisor to sign the agreement dated September 20th, 2019 with Linstar Engineering PC, White Plains, New York, for the preparation of bid specifications for the replacement of 2 generators at North State Road and Parker Vale lift stations at a cost not to exceed $7,750.
Do I have a motion?
so moved.
Second.
Discussion? Anything, do I have anything to say about this?
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do. At the advice of our engineering team and our highway superintendent, we are approving this contract that will enable a team of professionals to design and properly bid out 2 generators for our sewer lift stations at Parker Vale and at North State Road. We are thrilled to be getting this project off the ground. Special thanks to Andy Teese and Pete Connolly for all of the legwork involved. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Resolution I, permission to sell alcohol at Forest O Fears Haunted Attraction, Tapsmith. Resolved that Tapsmith is hereby authorized to operate a concession stand during the Forest O Fears Haunted Attraction event held on October 18th and October 19th at Cedar Lane Park in the town of Ossining, and to sell for consumption by persons over 21 years of age beer, wine, and or cider. And be it further resolved that Tapsmith will also obtain all necessary permits, including an event permit from the New York State Liquor Authority, and will provide proof of insurance and the letter of indemnity to the town in a form acceptable to council to the town.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So we are hopeful that Tapsmith will be pouring on October 18th and 19th, though they have not officially committed yet, but they did ask that we plan as if they will be available. And following this resolution, there is another one for Sing Sing Kill Brewery to be out with their Halloween brews on October 25th and 26th to complement our food trucks. I believe we're going to have food trucks both nights. We're still working on that. We can't wait for this annual event, which just keeps getting better and better every year. And thank you to Maddie Zahach for working on the food truck provisions for the evenings. All those in favor of the landlord authorization to go to the Liquor Authority for approval?
For Tapsmith?
For Tapsmith, yep.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Resolution J, permission to sell alcohol at Forest O Fears Haunted Attraction, Sing Sing Kill Brewery. Resolved that Sing Sing Kill Brewery is hereby authorized to operate a concession stand during the Forest O Fears Haunted Attraction event held on October 25th and October 26th at Cedar Lane Park in the town of Ossining, and to sell for consumption by persons over 21 years of age beer, wine, and or cider. And be it further resolved that Sing Sing Kill Brewery will also obtain all necessary permits, including an event permit from the New York State Liquor Authority, and will provide proof of insurance and the letter of indemnity to the town in a form acceptable to council to the town.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. So with that, I believe I'm going to ask for visitor recognition on any topic whatsoever. Visitor? Okay. Hearing none, might I have a motion to adjourn into executive session for personnel advice of council? No? Yes?
Short,
Have anything?
a short one,
Very, very short.
very short.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Okay, thanks, everybody, and have a great evening, and we will, next week, we do not, actually, do have notes for my next week's meeting. I think we are, just as a reminder, we will not have a meeting next Tuesday in recognition of Yom Kippur. Instead, we will have an 8 a.m. meeting on Thursday, October 10th at 16 Croton Avenue. And that's just to pay the bills and conduct any urgent business. We look forward to seeing you on October 15th at 7:30 PM at the Austin Public Library for our next town hall meeting. And we are going to be working closely with Tiffany Zerzuela and her team from Pace Land Use Law Center to kick off planning for our comprehensive plan with sustainability elements development. She will be with us on the 15th to give us an overview of how our public participation will unfold and discuss some current best practices for what we are looking to achieve. And with that, have a wonderful week, everybody. We'll see you around town.